everybody. Welcome back to Phillies Extra, the baseball show from the Philadelphia Inquirer. I'm Scott Lauber. I write about the Phillies and Major League Baseball. And whether you're watching at Inquirer.com, YouTube, Facebook, or X, or listening to our podcast on Apple or Spotify, I'm so glad that you're here. My guest this week is Dante Nori, the Phillies' 2024 first-round draft pick out of Northville High School in Michigan. It's been just over a year since he played his first professional game at Low A Clearwater, where he has also spent all of this season so far. After a slow start, the 20-year-old center fielder has been one of the best hitters in the Florida State League over the last few months. As we record this, he's batting .312 with a .412 on-base percentage and an .885 OPS since June 8th. So I thought, given the time of year and the fact that Clearwater and High A Jersey Shore will wrap up their seasons shortly after Labor Day, that we could sit down with Nori and devote all of this week's show to the state of the Phillies farm system. But then, as often happens when you try to plan an evergreen podcast about a sport that plays games almost every day, baseball happened. Actually, in this case, life happened. If you're a listener of this show, you surely know by now that Zack Wheeler, the Phillies' best pitcher, was diagnosed on August 16th with an upper extremity blood clot near his right shoulder. 2 days later, while the organization was still trying to clear the collective lump in its throat from that sobering news, Wheeler had surgery, a thrombolysis procedure to be specific, to remove the clot. The Phillies haven't outlined a timetable for his return, largely because this isn't a straightforward recovery. It's not like a strained muscle or a broken bone, or even, say, Tommy John elbow surgery, where a torn ligament gets reconstructed and a pitcher follows a progression and generally returns to the mound within 12 to 15 months. This is different. It's more than merely returning to athletic competition. It's real life. So we're going to do something different here this week. Instead of introducing my guest and jumping right into our conversation, we're going to start out by talking about Wheeler, what happened and what might come next. And we're going to do it with the information that we have right now, knowing that it's possible, even likely, that there are going to be some updates and additional information that become available throughout the week before some people get around to listening to this show. Of course, as we learn more, we'll report it on Inquirer.com, and I'm sure we'll be talking more about Wheeler on the show next week and the week after and the week after, because Zack Wheeler's a young man, 35 years old, with a wife and 4 children, and because beyond all that, his prognosis will have an impact on the Phillies in the short, medium, and long term. So if you stick with me after that, we'll still have my conversation with Dante Nori, in which we'll talk about how he turned around his season, how he came to be on a first-name basis with NBA star Anthony Edwards, and got to talk hitting with Alex Rodriguez, and a lot more. And we'll wrap it up, as always, with a listener question at the end. Let's get right to it then with what we usually refer to as the Reporter's Notebook segment of the show. So I want to take you back a few days to August 14th. The Phillies arrived in Washington about 5 hours before the beginning of a 4-game series against the Nationals. Mechanical delays on their Delta charter caused them to sit on the runway in Cincinnati for 5 hours the night before and ultimately to stay overnight. There were a lot of tired people in the Phillies traveling party. But Zack Wheeler went out before the game and played catch like he usually does. And when he was through, I chatted with him for a few minutes. He was in good spirits, considering the travel nightmare from the night before, and he was encouraged by how his right shoulder responded after his previous start in Texas. You might remember that Wheeler felt more soreness than usual after an August 2nd start at home, so the Phillies got an MRI. It came back clean, according to the medical people, and gave Wheeler 2 extra days rest between starts. Anyway, I was writing about how pitchers get from the dog days of August, when their arms tend to drag a little bit from fatigue, to the finish line of the regular season while making sure that they still have something left in the tank for the playoffs. And I figured there was no one better to ask than Wheeler, who's logged more innings and thrown more pitches than any pitcher in baseball since 2018. And that's without including 3 consecutive postseasons with the Phillies. I don't know if I have a great answer for you, Wheeler told me, before discussing in some detail how to learn to listen to your body, communicate with the trainers and the pitching coaches, and work as closely as possible with them to adapt your routine accordingly. Some days you might throw less, some days you might throw more. It's all about sort of responding to your body. And that sounds really simple, but I think, only elite athletes are that in tune with their bodies to know exactly what it's telling them. So a day later, on August 15th, Wheeler pitched against the Nationals. His fastball velocity was closer to normal, 95, 96 miles an hour, even a few 97s, after being down noticeably in the start before that in Texas. But I didn't think Wheeler pitched that well, to tell you the truth, at least not by his standards. He didn't have his best fastball command, and it took him 97 pitches to get through 5 innings plus one batter in the 6th. That was the game when new star closer Joan Duran took a line drive off his ankle in the 9th inning and was driven off the field in a bullpen car. So when I went down to the clubhouse after the game, I thought the Phillies season might have changed irrevocably that night, and it did, just not in the way that I thought. Because Duran, turned out fine. The ball hit a nerve, and it caused his foot to go numb, which was why he couldn't walk for a few minutes. But the feeling came back relatively quickly. X-rays were negative, and even before the Phillies bus left to go back to the hotel, Duran was already walking without even a limp. And Wheeler, well, he was really encouraged by how he pitched, surprisingly so, I thought. Wheeler can be his own harshest critic, and he doesn't blow smoke. If something's bothering him, you can usually tell. But in this case, he was pleased with his fastball, and he thought his command got better as the game went on. He even noted a specific at-bat against Nationals All-Star James Wood in the 3rd inning when, as Wheeler put it, everything started to click mechanically. Rob Thompson said Wheeler was typically ornery about handing over the ball in the 6th inning. And when Wheeler was asked about his shoulder, he said it was back to feeling normal. But sometime between when I and the other reporters left the clubhouse and Wheeler went to sleep that night, he began to feel what he described to head athletic trainer Paul Buchheit as, quote, heaviness. That didn't sound right to Buchheit, so the Phillies had Wheeler seen by doctors. The next morning, August 16th, he went for tests, which revealed the blood clot. And after Saturday's game, Dave Dombrowski, with Buchheit at his side, briefed us on the situation. Wheeler went back to Philly the day after, and the day after that, on August 18th, he had surgery. Dr. Paul DiMuzio, a vascular surgeon at Thomas Jefferson University Hospital, did the procedure. Now, a thrombolysis involves using medication, often administered through a catheter, to dissolve a blood clot. In pitchers, blood clots are often associated with a condition known as thoracic outlet syndrome. In 1996, former Yankee star David Cohn was treated for clots before ultimately needing to have surgery to remove an aneurysm from his arm. Wheeler's friend and former Mets teammate Dylan G had a thrombolysis procedure to remove a blood clot from his shoulder in July 2012. In that case, surgeons discovered damage to an artery that required another procedure and ended his season. It's important to note that there isn't any information to suggest that those situations are analogous to Wheeler's condition. I bring them up only to illustrate that, although it isn't terribly common for a major league pitcher to have a blood clot, it also isn't unheard of. It also explains why the Phillies didn't provide a timeline for Wheeler's recovery from the surgery, but rather they said in a statement that, quote, further treatment and the subsequent timeline for recovery for Wheeler is to be determined. Because one of the questions that arose when the Phillies initially announced Wheeler's blood clot diagnosis was whether it was related to the abnormal soreness that he felt after that August 2nd start. Buchheit said, quote, it's hard to say, but I don't think so. In talking with our doctors, it's maybe independent. There weren't these types of symptoms prior, so I do think they're independent, unquote. In that case, more tests were needed to determine the cause of the clot. Thus far, we haven't gotten the answer to that yet. Here's what we do have. A social media post from Wheeler's brother. Quote, shout out to all the Phillies fans and baseball fans who've shown their support of my brother and family, Jacob Wheeler wrote. So many messages have poured in that I'm not able to get to them all. All have been so supportive and positive. Phillies fans are truly family first, and it shows. Thank you, unquote. In time, we can talk about when Wheeler will get back on a mound. For now, with only 5 weeks left in the season, a few days after surgery, it's important only that Wheeler's off-field prognosis continues to trend favorably. Phillies Extra from the Philadelphia Inquirer. Thanks very much for being with me.
Oh, yeah, for sure. No, I appreciate you having me.
So it's been a year since you got drafted by the Phillies out of high school in Northville, Michigan, a suburb west of Detroit, right? And we're coming up on the 1 year mark of your first game in pro ball, August 13th, I think it was, in Clearwater. So I'm always curious to ask guys at this point, with nearly a year under their belt, what's been like your biggest observation so far about pro ball, whether it's the quality of the pitching or the lifestyle? You can take it whatever direction you want, but just what stood out the most to you so far?
It's kind of all of it. You kind of put in perspective, like you play 6 games a day. You're at the field. Was it 12 to 2 o'clock? It opened. You come in. I mean, just a lot of that. I mean, I'd say the biggest thing is just that 6 games a week. I think the pitching now, like you go from running into a 90 every now and then to everyone's 90, 95. Even I think this year I've seen 103. So that part of it, I mean, you're on your own, a couple of roommates, but other than that, that's it, really.
You saw 103 in the Florida State League, or
it was this guy on the St. Lucie Mets. I forget his name right now, but yeah.
Okay, I was going to say we got to mark that down. We got to remember that. I think it's always helpful to look at it like this. So you committed to Mississippi State before the draft, and obviously your plans changed after getting picked in the first round. I think the last first round pick who didn't sign was Kumar Rocker, and before that, I think you've got to go back to like 2018. But I bring that up because it's helpful to remember that you'd be a freshman in college right now. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to Justin Crawford recently about how he'd be a rising senior if he'd gone the college route. So, I guess what's it been like just to navigate like life away from home on your own when, most of your friends, I would guess, are probably off in college. They're enjoying their semester break right now, their summer break. And, you're I know you're playing baseball, but, it's a job and you're out there in the workforce at age 20. What's that been like for you?
It's honestly, I was used to like the living on your own part with my dad being with the NBA his whole life. So he's been honestly out of the picture a while until the off season. You see him every now and then. But other than that, like my mom's gone a lot of time at work, sister's gone. So, I mean, the aspect of being on yourself, kind of used to it. And I think another thing kind of but no school, it's just baseball. So it's kind of nice to put your sets on just one thing. And yeah, you have the chance to go to Mississippi State, but at the end of the day, this is where I wanted to be, and I love it.
I'm glad you brought up your dad because I was going to go there next. He's a longtime NBA assistant coach. Right now he's with the Timberwolves. And you just said it, right? Like that had to help, right? Kind of understanding what the lifestyle was like because he's on the road all the time and he's moved around, I think, right? 5 teams now, Toronto, Sacramento, Denver, Detroit, and now Minnesota. So like, did that kind of give you kind of a sense of what the lifestyle was like and kind of what the travel is all about? I mean, you're obviously on the bus and taking bus rides, but just kind of like having gone through that really since you were a kid, like 4 or 5 years old, he's been coaching in the NBA. So that had to kind of prepare you for a lot of this.
Yeah, no doubt. Like growing up, prime Vince Carter, he was a big one. Trace McGrady, Chris Bosh. I could go on and on about the people that surrounded me growing up and just knowing the lifestyle, like what it takes. Like they're doing the same thing. Like they're playing basketball their whole life. Like it's their job. So yeah, you surround yourself, you have a good feeling of what you're going to do. Like the road trips he's on, I don't even know where he is half the time, to be honest. People know where he is and I don't. I just turn on the TV. I'm like, oh, they're in Miami today playing the Heat. But no, like surround yourself. You knew what you were getting into from the get-go. They don't play as much, I would say, but yeah, no, going into it, I knew exactly what I was getting into.
So I've got to ask, how well do you know Anthony Edwards?
Decently well. We're on a first-name basis, so know him decently well.
And more importantly, at least for baseball purposes, do you have Timberwolves co-owner Alex Rodriguez's number in your phone?
I do not have his number, I believe. But no, I have had some good conversation with him. I think I met him like 2 Christmases ago at like this Timberwolves party, like get together. So I had a nice long conversation with him, just asking a bunch of questions.
Is it baseball related stuff? Like, are you throwing baseball questions at him, or is it more just like just trying to get to know him a little bit?
Mainly trying to get to know him a little bit, but then towards the end, it was asking a bunch of questions, just having even a better idea of what I was going to get into in the next 2 years. If it happened.
Did anything he said kind of stick with you?
I'm trying to think. A while ago. I think mainly just like it's a jog, not a sprint. Honestly, yeah. Like where you're playing 140 games, my body's used to. Now it's used to it, which is great. But Like growing up, high school, you played 42 games max, 47 max, and it was 3
Right.
games a week. So just taking your time, like just take your time with it. And yeah.
What's your best story from being around NBA players your whole life? Like if somebody said to you, is there an interaction that stands out? Like, do you consider some of these guys buddies? Do you, are you, were you starstruck by anybody growing up? Kind of like, oh my God, that's so and so. I mean, is there one that really kind of jumps out at you?
The starstruck feeling, I think, like it's kind of faded away when you be around them so much. But I'd say, I think one of the coolest ones, my story is DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry. Like they don't even call me Dante, it's Little Micah. Because growing up, they just said I look so much like my dad, where it's just Little Micah. And even till this day, I'll run into him every now and then. So it's what, Little Micah. So it's kind of cool. Like when he first called me that, and then 10 years later down the line, you're still getting called that. I think it's cool.
What did Kyle Lowry say when you got drafted by the Phillies?
He was excited because I think he's still with the 76ers right now, right? Yeah. So
yeah.
I think it was cool. He was pumped up, like, hey, you're in the same city now, same organization. Well, yeah, same city, same place. So it's cool. And then he was just wishing me best of luck, and they'll see me when I get there.
So back in spring training, I was talking to Griffin Burkholder, who was drafted right behind you. You're an outfielder, he's an outfielder. You came out of high school, he came out of high school. Like you guys signed for the exact same bonus money. Like he got his first hit in the same game that you got your first hit. There's going to be kind of a natural tendency probably to put you guys next to each other a little bit as you climb the minor leagues. But I'm curious about your relationship because you've got each other, right? And it must help to have one another to kind of lean on and bounce things off of and say like, hey man, like we're in the same position, we're in the same shoes. Like, what are you going through? What am I going through? Is that kind of been the case with you? I know you roomed a little bit together last year. What's that relationship like?
We definitely clicked right away, knowing I think we're the only 2 high school kids in that past class to get drafted. So right away, I knew of him from East Coast Pro, played him once there, and then he was on Dirtbags and I was on Canes, and we were always rivals, but I knew of him. And then when he got picked, I mean, right from the get-go, we knew we were going to be close. Room with him when I first got to Philly to sign, room with him when I first got there, and then we were in different rooms for a while, but now we're back in the same room. So, but no, just bouncing things off. I'm excited for him to get back up here when he's done with his stuff, but I'm really excited, and couldn't ask for a better man.
In following your season, I know it seemed like you struggled a little bit early on, but there was a 4-hit game in there in early June. And, since then you've been on a roll. I think you're hitting like 350 over the last 6 weeks, 4 or 5, 6 weeks. Was there a turning point in there for you? Is there an adjustment, something that you did differently or anything that kind of accounts for this role that you've been on here before the All-Star break?
I think it was at the beginning, like handful of adjustments. I don't even know how many adjustments we made this year, but just trying to figure it out. Like there's no pressure. Like we're going to go with this for the next 2 weeks. We're going to roll with it. And I think it stuck. I think the big one was just moving closer on the plate. And I like the ball close to me. I like having the barrel close to me. And I think I got my hands on a little torpedo bat too to help out with it. So love that thing. But just basically that, and then clicking and staying with the same thing, having a plan. Now I take notes like after every at bat, like getting to know, like play the game. Like knowing, getting deeper, diving deeper in the game, situational, what's going to go on here, what are you going to do here. Just overall, as you keep playing, you're going to get comfortable. So now I'm at a point where I'm very comfortable, and yeah, it's been good.
What made you go torpedo bat?
I like having the barrel closer to my hands. I've always been a guy, like through high school, I was going the opposite way. And then moving closer on the plate, realize, hey, you do the damage here. Like you have all this information now, so it's easy to pinpoint what's going on. And then just we move closer on the plate, hey, barrel's closer to you now. So, or I'm closer to play, I want the barrel closer to me. Went torpedo, and yeah, it's been great.
I asked because when the whole torpedo craze started back in April, I talked to a lot of guys, Phillies guys about it, and they were saying like, hey, I'll try it, I'll swing it maybe in BP, maybe it works for me, maybe it doesn't. But like you said, I mean, now you have all this science that tells you like where you're more likely to hit the ball off the barrel of the bat, or whether the barrel should be lower or in a normal position. Did someone suggest it and say kind of like, based on what we're seeing, this is where you hit the ball most often on the barrel, and maybe if we slide it down a little bit, it might help?
No, I wanted to swing it right from the get-go. I saw it and I was like, oh yeah, I want that. And it came in. I used it on front flips and live on the field, and used it that day. And ever since, I haven't left it.
Nice. We know you're big into baseball cards. My colleague Matt Breen recently wrote a really great story about your passion for collecting. Burkholder was telling me that like you're trying to get him into it. Like you showed up one day with like 8 of his Bowman rookie card and said, "Hey, hand it out to your friends," blah blah blah. I'm curious. Like, it's such a different hobby now from when I was growing up, from when your dad grew up. My son's 9, and I'm trying to get him started on a little collection. But, I've asked Matt Strom the same question. Like, what's your advice for someone who collected cards, let's say in the 90s, right? And it's changed, and they're trying to get back into it now, and they don't really know where to begin.
Honestly, I just collect what you like. Like me right now, like growing up, like I've always been a big fan of baseball cards. Like my best memory, like earliest, was Mike Trout rookie card. I think I have 3 of those at my house. So that's what when I think baseball cards, I think of Mike Trout rookie cards. And ever since then, we went through my dad's collection, but honestly, it's just collect what you want. Like a lot of people, I know nowadays it's more of like the money thing, especially Pokemon. Like it's getting crazy nowadays, but collect what you like. I do it just for the collecting part. You build relationships too. Like if there's a card I want, I have no problem trading some signed gear that I have laying around. And I've created a bunch of relationships. I've hopped on some breaks. People have came out. I've met them who I've got cards from. Like it's a great hobby. And I just collect what you like.
Does your dad, what was your dad's relationship to kind of card collecting when you got into it? Did he stop and put it away for a while, or was he sort of like one of these people who kept up with it all the way through?
He stopped early. I remember like the Ken Griffey, like that, the upper deck rookie is when he was collecting a lot, like even younger than that. My grandpa was into it. And then kind of when I started, and he taught me how to handle the cards too. Like, hey, watch the corners, hold the sides, don't touch the front fingerprints. But like, he took a break from it, I remember. And then when I started getting a little older, he got me back into it back when boxes at Target were maybe $10, $15, and now it's $50. But he got me back into it. He got back into it because of me. And then now he sees me doing it, and he sometimes dabbles in it a little bit.
That's the biggest thing. Like, I can't get over the price of the boxes now. The fact that, I could get your rookie card, but I got to get, 8 of them because each of them has a different color background or whatever. And so it's hard to kind of like wrap your head around all the different things. It used to be, you want the Ken Griffey rookie card. There's the Ken Griffey rookie card. Just go get it, and now it's, are you all about like just the different variations and wanting to see if like, can I get can I get such and such a card and get it in like 8 different variations?
Yeah, that's my main goal. Is just they say complete the rainbow. I've completed the rainbow, but now it's like, hey, I want the set too. Like just for I have a whole vision of what I want to do when I get older and have it like in my basement set up. Just be able to show my kids my own when I get older and that time comes. But like, just get all the variations. I think I'm missing 3 now. But yeah, basically I'm just like, hey, I like that color. I want that one. And then when you're signing them all, you wish you can keep them. So basically that's in your mind too. I have all these pictures on my phone. I'm like, oh, I'll have that one. Yeah, I want to try to get that one. It's refreshing eBay every day. You go on Twitter, you look it up. So yeah, it's kind of fun. It's like a mission.
How many of your own do you have now?
I can't even count. It's a big, very big collection. I got to refresh it. I got to do that probably later today. I'll lay them all out, grab a picture of it and count.
How has Burkholder caught on? Like, is he into it now? Or because when I talked to him back in March, he was kind of like, yeah, I'm just kind of feeling my way through. I don't really know what the heck this is all about.
I tried. I gave up a little bit ago when I realized he's like, yeah, no, I'm good. But no, whenever I get him, it's kind of fun. Like I'll hop in the breaks on whatnot. I'll get him. I have no problem. Like they're their cards. I think they deserve them. So whenever I get like him, Spikerman, Shoji Naga, Matheson, like all those guys, like DeMar, I'll send them out. Miller's actually into it too, a little bit every now and then. So I'll give him his. But no, it's fun. It's fun because they also know like I collect a ton. Like even today, I think I had like 10 packages in my locker. Like, oh, Nori's got more baseball cards. Let's see what we got. So
nice. How about I know Mick Abel's into it a little bit, and obviously Strom. What's it going to be like when you get to that first big league camp and get around Strom and get to maybe get around Strom and get to maybe pick his brain a little bit about his collection?
No, it's definitely gonna be fun. I have a lot of questions. I want to see his collection of himself, like what he's got. It's definitely gonna be a fun conversation starter when that time comes.
He does. He collects guys who hit home runs off him.
Yeah,
that's one of his side collections. So I guess that's kind of a fun little collection to be a part of if you ever get that opportunity.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let me get you out of here on this. Kyle Schwarber played for your grandfather in college at Indiana. I know you guys have gotten close over the years. Where were you and what were you doing and what was your reaction the other night when he won the swing off at the All-Star game? Are you texting him right away? Like, what was your reaction to that whole thing? Because I was there at the All-Star game. It was pretty cool to see. And, like you hear, okay, they're going to go to a swing off. Well, of course they're going to pick him, right? They have to. So what was your reaction to all of that?
I was playing cards with my buddies in his basement, and we had the game on in the background, and I saw my dad calling me, and I answered. He's like, hey, Schwarber's up second to swing off for National League. Might want to turn out. I was like, oh, we got it. So we took a break and we were watching, and all of a sudden he goes 3 for 3.
Right.
He calls me. Grandpa calls me. I know his phone was going to blow up, so I want to add to that because I understand that. But next time I see him for sure, I'm going to ask to see that trophy first off if I get a chance, and then second off, just tell him congrats.
Down on one knee, too, when he hits that one out to right field. To
back legger. It's crazy.
It's what's it been like to kind of watch him? Because, look, just since he got to Philly in 2022, like he's the rare guy who's gotten better and better and better, right? And he's probably a more complete hitter now than he was even then. And back then he was pretty good. What's it been like just to kind of, be as close as you are with him and also kind of get to see him evolve the way he has?
Oh, it's been cool. Like there's a picture of me playing catch on the Indiana warning track as a kid, jersey swallowing me whole. So like, that's cool. Look back at that, see how far he's come. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like watching him in College World Series, you watch him in the Big Ten tourneys, hitting these balls. I mean, it was unbelievable. And I still remember it, but just watching him, you hit with him in January, you see what he's working on this year, what his goals are, like, what's he trying to work? Like just watching how his mind works and picking his brain on some of the stuff that he does.
Tracy Smith once told me that he took him literally for a tour of the ballpark in BP, like hit it out to left, hit it out to left center, hit it out to center, hit it out to right center. I mean, have you seen him do that? Have you seen him use kind of use the ballpark that way? And obviously he's not doing it to put on a show. He's doing it to work on his swing and figure out, like get his headspace. Like I want to use the whole field and do all that. But to be able to have power to all fields like that, even in BP, and to see that, I wonder if that's ever anything you've witnessed.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like when I was hanging with him this past January at his house, like where he puts the ball, like, all right, we're going to go. He works every single quadrant of the zone and even pitches where you're really not going to swing. But let's say I'm fooled, like even working on hitting those pitches, like it's unbelievable. Like ball comes off the bat different, the noise, like just seeing the way he works, like watch his body work. Like, all right, I'm going to put it here. I'm going to be a little front, like knowing it's going to be, hey, I'm going to be out front, but trying to stay here. It's unreal.
Yeah. Well, Dante, this was a lot of fun. It's been cool to keep an eye on your progress, over the last year since the Phillies drafted you. And we're really looking forward to having you closer to Philly at some point, in Lakewood and Reading and Lehigh up here as you move up the ladder. So I know you guys keep a busy schedule down there between the games and the travel and whatnot. So I really want to thank you for carving out a little bit of time to spend with us here at Phillies Extra from the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you guys having me.
My thanks again to Dante Nori. It's time now for our last segment. We call this Hit and Run, where we take a question from you out there. There are several ways to get your question to us. Drop me an email at slauber@inquirer.com or reach out on the social media platform of your choice, X, Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, or drop me a question in the comments section on YouTube as well. This week's question comes from John Kniebles. And John, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that, but based on the spelling, I'm going to presume that your last name is the plural form of former Phillies reliever Corey Knieble. Anyway, he's at John Kniebles on X, and he asks, quote, does anyone ever ask Rob Thompson about Nick Castellanos? Next to nothing production, zero plate approach, total apathy, but sits twice a year. Or is he going to say he is, quote, trying to do too much, unquote? When is enough enough? Thanks, John, for the question. I would take issue with your total apathy. I don't think there's total apathy on the part of Nick Castellanos. He's a pretty hard worker before and after games. But as a matter of fact, I have asked Rob Thompson recently about Castellanos in the context of the Phillies platoons in the other two outfield spots, where Brandon Marsh, Max Kepler, Harrison Bader, and Weston Wilson are splitting time. I asked specifically whether Castellanos factors into the outfield rotation. And here's what Thompson said, quote, "I think so, a little bit, and we'll see how it all works out moving forward. I think it's good this time of year to get guys days off," unquote. Okay, so a few things here. Tonally speaking, that's slightly different from the way Thompson talks about the other four outfielders. When Castellanos sat out on August 9th, for instance, Thompson said it was a pre-planned day off because of the unforgiving turf in Texas. Now, I know that's still a relatively new ballpark, but I have not heard very many people, if any, talk about the turf there being especially hard or challenging. My suspicion is that Jacob deGrom was on the mound for the Rangers, and that had more to do with Thompson's desire to sit Castellanos in favor of Max Kepler, who bats left-handed. But out of respect for Castellanos and knowing that Castellanos considers himself an everyday guy, maybe Thompson felt he needed to handle that a little more carefully. Because if he comes out and he says, yeah, I'm sitting Nick against a super tough righty, there are going to be a bunch more questions about whether this is going to turn into a platoon in right field, the same way the Phillies platoon in center and left. But I always advise fans to pay more attention to what managers and executives do than what they say. And sure enough, Castellanos sat out again on August 16th against another righty, the Nationals' Cade Cavalli, who is a good-looking rookie pitcher, but not exactly Jacob deGrom. So I think Thompson's plan is clear. He's going to sit Castellanos occasionally against righties in order to get Marsh, Kepler, and also Bader in the lineup together. And it's a good idea because Castellanos is not having a good season by any measure. In fact, he's been a below-league average player for most of the year. But this is only going to be against some righties, not all righties, especially if the Phillies find themselves in a run of right-handed pitchers. And that in itself is a departure from how things have been done since Castellanos signed with the Phillies in 2022. Now, Castellanos also has control over the situation. Thompson has reminded everyone that Castellanos is a streaky hitter, which would suggest that the Phillies still believe there's a hot streak around the corner. And if Castellanos gets on one of his hot streaks, he's not going to sit against anyone. If he doesn't, he is going to get more time off than he's used to. It's just not going to be quite as much as the other outfielders get, if that makes sense. All right, let's stop it there and tell you that every episode of Phillies Extra, 28 and counting, is available by going to Inquirer.com and clicking on the Inquirer Live tab or on the Inquirer's YouTube and Facebook pages. You can also listen to this episode and many others on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That's a great way to catch up on any of the interviews and conversations that you have missed. And while you're there, please give us a follow, rate and review us. We want to hear from you. Thanks again to my guest, Phillies outfield prospect Dante Nori. Thanks, too, to our producer, Angelica Irizarry, for her flexibility in making sure that this show looks and sounds as good as it can every week. We could not do this show without her. And most of all, thanks so much to you out there for listening, watching, and, of course, reading the Philadelphia Inquirer.